Hey, it's Sunday. Thought I'd go ahead and get on this morning. It's the 25th of June. Cheers, people. Every now and then you might hear these voices. It's my neighbors. It's 8:30 in the morning, but they're already out in the front yard with a fire pit going. And in all honesty, I love my neighbors, but their behavior is what I call country. They act like they're out in the woods, ain't nobody around. They get loud. I mean, really get loud. Anyway, excuse me. Oh, so I said I would probably get back on if I got the Sakamoto, but I didn't, and that was a direct result of the experience of listening to the album, which I will review in just a second. But I want to thank Jeremy. I think it's 40-year. Never met this person, but he said he'd bought this book, but he ended up with 2 copies, and he said he'd send me the second. I said, sure. Thank you very much. A Fistful of Spaghetti, an encyclopedia of Italian progressive rock, experimental, electronic music, etc., by the Freeman Brothers. Ultima Thule, I think is they've been around for a while, and I forget, is it Audion? Is that their magazine? They're online. They pretty much, I guess I'll give it to them. They are experts on progressive rock. I'll give it to them. I've had interactions with them. Actually, have butted heads with them online about some things where they were getting nitpicky. I said, "Oh, okay. I'm gonna acquiesce to you. Y'all are on a mission." I started again. This is going to be a lot of fun to reference as well as read. I've already started to read it because I have a big interest in progressive rock, and the Italian movement has always captured my interest. And it's really good because it gives a background that I didn't have before, specifically political background about what was going on regarding communism and Western influence in Europe. I knew about the conflicts with the French and stuff, but the German-Italian conflict, I barely knew about. And that figures in greatly with the proliferance of underground rock, and particular classically influenced progressive rock, because of the Italian history with classical music. So, Freeman Brothers, if you see this, congratulations, bravo on doing this. And Jeremy, thank you so very much for sending me the book. In looking through the book and looking at all the different artists, I am fairly familiar with this stuff. Like, for example, the back page, those albums that it shows, I have all of them. And on the pages where they show albums, there's only one entry, there's only one page where I don't have any of the entries. On all the pages, I have at least one, if not 3 or 4 of them. I love the Italian school. Can you hear him? I sure can hear him. So damned early outside and loud. I mean, they're having fun, so I'm happy about that. At least they're not fighting today, because that's the other thing. That's why I call them country, because everything hangs out. When they're having a good time, everybody knows. When they're having a bad time, everybody knows. They'll be fighting out there, breaking their car windows, and just crazy shit. Pissed me off, actually. So, anyway, let me keep going here, because that'll just annoy me. I went ahead, and it's a breakdown. It is. It's a breakdown because it's like life is for some of us, life is on the edge, which means I live on Social Security. Okay, I don't have a job. I'm retired. Don't want to work anymore. Okay, so I have a limited income, so I'm always concerned about making ends meet and having some money just in case something breaks down. Okay, which keeps me from spending what little I have more. I just sit on it. Okay. So what I'm saying is that there are times when I decide I want to buy some records that it's an issue, and it's like, oh, I'm going to do it, damn it, and hopefully things will be okay. And that's what I did yesterday. I went to Grapefruit and to Homer's. I specifically went to Grapefruit because I know that Grapefruit Records recently bought this amazing collection that they're putting out piecemeal. I don't know who the collector was. I doubt that I knew him. But this person bought the artist that they bought everything by the artist, and they kept things in immaculate condition. They were also one of those kind of collectors who didn't play all the records they bought. So I went down there thinking they probably were going to put some more out, and they did, and I got some. So I'll show you what I got, and I'll show you what I played. But I'll start with the Sakamoto, because I was happy to see that Homer's did get in the last album by Ryuichi Sakamoto, 12. Double album, clear vinyl, sparse packaging, but important. So let me read what Sakamoto wrote. In early March 2021, I finally came home in my new temporary housing after a big operation and a long stay in the hospital. Around the end of March, just as my body was feeling a little lighter, I found myself reaching for the synthesizer. I had no intention of composing something. I just wanted to be showered in sound. I had a feeling that it'd have a small healing effect on my damaged body and soul. Up until then, I barely had the energy to listen to music, let alone play anything. But after that day, I began to occasionally touch the keys of the synthesizer and piano, and I began to record little sketches of sounds as if to write a diary. I tried choosing 12 of my favorite sketches for this album. There are no adornments. I'm intentionally putting them out as is. From now on, until my body gives out, I'll probably continue to keep this kind of diary. Oh shit, people. That's heavy. Like the David Bowie Black Star album, the knowledge of impending death, it colors what you hear. By the time I was done with the fourth side, which is the piano side, it was all I could do to break down and cry. I was sobbing inside because the music is breathtakingly beautiful and stark. You can hear the sentiment. I can hear it in the playing. He knows he's dying. He knows it. And so there's in particular on the last side of the piano pieces, they're just gorgeous but bittersweet. It was like, and then the last piece is when him playing with the broken pottery and ceramic stuff that on his website, and I think in Coda even they show him messing with that stuff. This is amazing. Wow. Yes, he's truly one of my all-time favorite musicians. He had such sensitivity, such a depth to his composing, and so, I'm at a loss for words. I don't imagine I'll be playing it very often because it's very heavy, but it's very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Okay, these records are not in order. So, let me show what I got down at Grapefruit first. Okay, is this everything? Okay, here we go. So, I did buy, besides the used items at Grapefruit, I bought a couple of new, they're not new records, but new in the store. This reissue of The Future Crayon by Broadcast. Broadcast is another one of those bands that has this retro future sort of approach. The woman who was in the band, I always forget her name. She's already died. She died young. But she has a real deadpan voice and like lifeless approach to her singing, which really works for this music. I like this stuff a lot. People put them in the same category, please, yeah, as Stereolab. I see that, but they have their own sound. So I grabbed this out of the newer section. I had been eyeing this, and I went ahead and grabbed it. I thought I had the CD, but it turns out I get mixed up. AMMMusic. This is a groundbreaking piece of music and improvisation from the 60s. I have the other one from the Crypt on CD. I hesitated to get this, thinking that I would want to get it mainly for the archiving of it. But when I played this yesterday, this is wonderful. This is really alive. You can hear where they even sample by using a turntable, records, and messing with the records amongst all the other things going on. This is fantastic. AMMMusic. I think this first came out around 1967. Awesome. Don't see their records too much. Okay, this was in the collection that they had brought in and put out. I was so glad. I love this band. Lilies, In the Presence of Nothing. This is like an American My Bloody Valentine. They really have a similar sound, but it's good, and and not only do they have the guitar sound and that warped bending of a realities type of sound, the chords and the songs are good. It's not just the sound. This band is In the Presence of Nothing. To me, this is another one of those bands where it's a head scratcher to me how good they are and how completely unknown they are. I'm also happy to say that I'm on a record where members of them are also on it. It's the Telefono box set of singles where different people collaborated with Dave Matisiak, and I'm on one side of it's a 5 disc set. Lily's members are on one of the records in the box set. They're not on the same composition as me, but I'm on the same record as them. That's really good. I have a couple of their other records. Don Caballero, instrumental math rock, post rock band, whatever you want to call them. This is a live album. It's not a bootleg. It's numbered. Gang Banged with a Headache and Live. This is on bone color. It's an interesting color. Bone, off-white, bone. This is really good. I mean, it's a very good performance. Damon Che, the drummer, who I met and attempted to have a conversation with, but he's a character. He's a handful. People who know about Don Caballero and that guy know he's an amazing drummer. He plays the drums. He sets them up unusually. They look like they're unplayable, and he plays the absolute shit out of them. Really good band, and that's a good album. It's a very good performance. The audience is into it, and the band is smoking. The other thing I got were these 3 Flying Lotus, part of a 3 LA EP times 3. I missed these when these came out in the early 2000s, and I wasn't hip to Flying Lotus yet, so I'm not even sure I think this is the way to show it. So here's number 1, number 2, actually this is number 1 here. This was the only one that was open. The other 2 were still sealed. I cracked the seal on this one, number 2. Flying Lotus is a trip. And number 3. I think that's the way. Yeah, I think that's the way. I've never seen these, and I have several Flying Lotus. It took me a while to grasp what he's up to. And it bothered me how the bass on these things, on many of his recordings, are just on the verge of distorting or are distorting, and how that became acceptable in hip-hop, seemingly. Too much bass. It's too much bass. I haven't played all 3 of these yet, but stuff is good. These remixes are really good. So that's what I got from Grapefruit. Now here's the other thing that I did. So Grapefruit had some copies of the Muse for sale. They had 3 copies left. I was out officially, except for a few. So I went ahead and took those back. I said, well, let me go ahead and get them because I'm out. Basically, what I've decided to do, for a minute I was going to wait until my next gigs. I don't know. I think I have a gig, but it's the Noise Collective haven't gotten back to me on it. I need to contact them and say, did you is that gig for the end of July real? I was going to save them and have them for merch, but I've decided what I'm going to do instead is, this is the last 9 copies of the Muse that I have. And Bandcamp Friday is coming up. Is it? Maybe they said they're not doing it for June and July. But what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and put these up on my Bandcamp site for sale and go ahead and sell it out. I have 9 copies left. Now I'll tell you what I'm going to do, folks. I'm going to take a look at the information. If Bandcamp Friday isn't happening again until August, I will go ahead and put these up for sale today. Okay, after I get done with this, I'll go and look and see. And that'll be the last copies available physically of the CD, and you ought to get it. Then I went to Homer's because I saw in their update one record that I wanted. And I said, if it's still there, I'm going to grab it. And it was. There was 2 that I wanted, but only 1 was left. Used records go for a premium. Okay, here in Omaha. Okay, there was 1 more. Let me get them all. There it is. Okay. So I already have this, but I didn't have this version. So this is the American version of Uriah Heep's very first album, which I've had for years. But the original cover, if I'm not mistaken, is this. Although this is a reissue, as you can see by that tab there. Very Eavy, Uriah Heep. That's a, you know, that's not the greatest, coolest cover, but it's one that is very eye-catching, and it's like when I saw it, and it said, yeah, that's one that's burned in my memory. And Uriah Heep is important in my personal history of music, being one of the first big bands I ever saw, and they were mind-blowing. So I said to myself, if they have this, I'll grab it. And they did, so I grabbed it. And I do like the album. Gypsy, that one in particular, the way it starts is really good. They had two other records there. Bjork is someone who I don't consciously collect. She puts out so much. But when I listen to her, I get into her. When I think about listening to her, I don't choose to listen to her. But they had this in the used, so I grabbed it. This is a 12-inch single, Fossora, the Fossora Remixes. Really glad I got this. This is only 2 songs. But the Ovial remix song on this is so good. I played it on repeat yesterday about 5 times. It's like, wow. Yeah, she's a one of a kind. That voice is singular. It is. It's one that, you know, you love it or hate it. This is she's put out several on this kind of milky vinyl. But the A-side remix on this is fantastic. Features Shy Girl. Real good. Real good. Real glad I got this. And the other thing I got, which I almost hesitated and I'm glad that I went ahead and got it, is an old Psych-related album. The band is AB Skhy. This is their second album, Ramblin On. This is one that back in the actual days of cutouts, when these things were first, you know, put out as, you know, reduced price, there were always these tiers of prices back in the 70s. 39 cents, 3 for $1, $1.50, $2.75. Back then, $2 was a lot of money, and this would always be on the high end of the cutout, so I could never get it. This is good. It's bluesy, but I got to give these guys credit. This came out in 1970, and for a 1970s white band playing blues, this is pretty gritty. It's pretty good. But I'm happy to say that the other non-bluesy psychedelic songs are very good. It's a good band. You know, they can actually play, you know, good musicianship. So I got this. I'd been wanting. This is another example of old records from my childhood that aren't necessarily psychedelic, but that time period. Anytime I can get these, that I can afford them, I want to get them. So that's what I bought new yesterday. Really enjoyed those records too. Really enjoyed them. Okay. Really happy to add them to the collection. Cheers. See how quiet it is? My neighbors are noticeable, you know. I would not do that to other people. That's why I'm complaining. I wouldn't have my ass hanging out for everybody to hear. So, a couple other records I played yesterday. I'll go in order. Acnode One, double album by Jusuk Reet Meat from Smegma. This is another noise sound entry. This is good. This sort of stuff all doesn't sound the same, and it's cool to hear the different things that people try working with sound. Some of this is, as you see, playing with cassettes. There's stuff where it sounds like he's found stuff in the garage or in the garbage and he's jerking it around. Then there's other things where it's him playing horns, and this is really rather compelling. Acnode One. Really, really good, actually. This is excellent. The only bummer is that these are archive tapes of Roedelius from Cluster and Harmonia. Tape Archive Essence, 73 to 78. I listened to this on headphones yesterday. I love this music, and it's more of that Harmonia stuff, but there's a low-grade hum throughout the tapes. And you don't hear it unless, well, stereo would be loud enough, but I had it on headphones. And for a minute I thought, what, did my ground get loose? It's on here. But the music is wonderful. I mean, really wonderful. I love this stuff. The other record that I played all the way through, including the drum solo, Emerged by the Litter. I think they're from Minnesota. This is a really intense, excellent rock album. I have a single from it. I Had It Forever. Blue Ice. Great songs. And the last song on the album, Future of the Past, features a drum solo. I went ahead and let it play. I'm glad I did because the drummer's pretty good, but what you hear is that manic energy that drummers can let loose as they get going. And it climaxes, it ends the album, but it's appropriate. It's wild. This is a really good album. This is an original too. So there's some music for you. I had a short but nice visit with my family on Zoom yesterday. I kept it short, but I'm glad that everyone's doing okay. As I said, this is birthday time for my family. So we started out with Kareem, my oldest nephew, on the 16th. Then we just had then my brother Patrick, who passed away. Unfortunately, his birthday was the 19th. He would have been 66. And Floyd just had his birthday on the 22nd. He turned 88, my brother-in-law. This Tuesday, the 27th, my older sister Stephanie, you hear me talking about her all the time. It'll be her birthday. And she'll be turning 71. And she's doing good. Doing good. It continues. The 2nd of July is my younger sister Adrian's birthday. She'll turn 67, and for a few days she and I will be the same age because I'm 67. But on the 7th of July, that's my 68th birthday coming up. So it's a way of celebrating ourselves that, we've made it one more year, still alive. I love my people. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Thanks again for the book, Jeremy. Stay in touch, people, and be well.